The allure of the macabre can be strong. It draws people to curio shops filled with the strange and unusual. Wicked Wonderland, a shop in Florida, certainly catered to this fascination. Its owners were Kimberly Shopper and her daughter Ashley Lalisi. Their store specialized in antiques, Gothic decorations, and various odd works of art. On the surface, it was a quirky mother-daughter business. They even claimed a passion for anatomy, perhaps hinting at a deeper interest. But a tip-off in December 2023 suggested something more unsettling. An investigation into their curious collection began, peeling back layers of Gothic charm to reveal a potential trade in human remains. The ordinary suddenly became extraordinary, and not in a delightful way. Kimberly Shopper, at 52 years old, soon found herself under arrest. The charge was a serious one: trading in human tissue. This isn't your everyday shoplifting accusation. She was later released from custody after posting a $7,500 bond. Her arraignment was scheduled for May 1, 2025, a date that has now passed, marking another step in the legal process. Ashley Lalisi, 33, the co-owner and daughter, also faced intense scrutiny from the authorities, though her precise custody status following the initial reports remained less clear. The wheels of justice, often slow, had begun to turn. The central question loomed: what exactly had they been selling from their emporium of oddities? Their shop, Wicked Wonderland, certainly sounds like a haven for those with eccentric tastes. It offered items that went far beyond the usual Gothic trinkets and spooky decorations. The owners, this mother-daughter team, reportedly prided themselves on a supposed medical background. This, they perhaps implied, lent a legitimate air to their interest in anatomical specimens. One might imagine them poring over old medical texts. But, did a personal passion for anatomy, however genuine, permit them to cross a significant legal line? The authorities clearly believed it did. Their business's Facebook page, once a platform for showcasing curios, became a key piece of evidence in the unfolding investigation. The official investigation, which was sparked by that crucial anonymous tip, quickly zeroed in on their online sales activities. The Wicked Wonderland Facebook page was not just a digital storefront for harmless spooky decorations or vintage clothing. It allegedly listed actual human remains for purchase by anyone browsing the social media platform. This wasn't about plastic Halloween props designed to give a temporary fright. The items advertised were presented as real human bones, skeletal fragments of once living people. The vast, unregulated digital marketplace had in this instance become a venue for a very old and very strange trade. This uncomfortable discovery was about to make headlines far beyond Florida. Can you just hop online and buy a human skull? It's a startling question. Surprisingly, at the federal level in the United States, the answer is often yes, you can. There isn't a blanket federal law that bans the buying and selling of all human bones. The most significant exception to this rule concerns Native American remains. These are stringently protected by specific legislation, such as NAGPRA, Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, due to centuries of historical injustices and the importance of these remains to tribal communities. But other bones, from different contexts, the federal government frequently remains silent, creating a complex and often confusing patchwork of regulations, or lack thereof. However, individual states have their own distinct ideas and laws on this matter. States like Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, and Minnesota, for example, have enacted specific statutes that make it illegal to import or export human remains without proper authorization. Florida, the Sunshine State and the setting for our current story, also prohibits the unregulated trade of human tissue. Any such trade must occur within very specific, highly regulated contexts like medical schools or research institutions. So, while the federal government might appear to look the other way in some instances, state authorities can and do step in. Navigating this legal landscape is like walking through a labyrinth blindfolded. Online platforms, the modern marketplaces for almost everything, also weigh in with their own policies. eBay, a behemoth in the world of e-commerce, updated its policy regarding human remains around 2016. They now explicitly prohibit the sale of most human body parts, including bones and skulls. You might be able to sell items containing human scalp hair, such as antique Victorian mourning lockets or wigs, but entire skulls, femurs, or other skeletal elements? Not on eBay. Even used funeral items like urns are generally off limits. This demonstrates a corporate attempt to navigate the murky ethical and legal gray areas surrounding this trade, often going beyond minimum legal requirements. The two Florida women, Shopper and Legality, offered a defense for their alleged sales. They claimed the bones they were selling were simply educational models. Selling such anatomical models can indeed be legal in Florida and elsewhere. But there is a significant catch: documentation. Proper paperwork is absolutely essential. This documentation serves to prove the bones' origins, their chain of custody, and their legal acquisition. Without this verifiable provenance, an educational model can look suspiciously like contraband to law enforcement. Their entire defense would therefore hinge on producing proof that, according to reports, they could not readily provide when asked by investigators. So, what exactly was on the grisly menu at this Wicked Wonderland online store? The listings on their Facebook page were quite specific, leaving little to the imagination. They allegedly offered a partial human skull, with an asking price of $600. For those on a tighter budget, 2 human skull fragments were available for a more modest $90. A single human rib could apparently be yours for just $35. If you were looking for something more substantial, a human clavicle and scapula set was listed for $90. Even a solitary human vertebra was advertised, priced at $35. The total estimated value of these 6 listed items alone was around $850. Kimberly Shopper and Ashley Legality had a defense prepared, as one might expect. They claimed they were unaware that their actions were illegal. The bones, they insisted to investigators, were merely educational models, intended for study or display. They even asserted that they possessed the necessary documentation for these human remains, papers that would legitimize their possession and sale. Yet, when authorities requested to see this crucial paperwork, it was reportedly not forthcoming. This conspicuous lack of proof significantly weakened their position. After all, ignorance of the law is rarely accepted as a valid excuse, especially when dealing with something as sensitive as human remains. Florida law is actually quite clear on this particular matter. The trading of human tissue is strictly prohibited unless it falls under very specific regulated channels. Think of donations to medical institutions for research, or anatomical specimens used in universities for training doctors. These are controlled environments with oversight. Selling bones on Facebook Marketplace alongside Gothic curiosities and antiques doesn't quite fit that description. The educational model claim, especially without any supporting documents to verify origin and legality, seemed like a rather thin veil to the investigators working on the case. The state has a profound and vested interest in how human remains are sourced, handled, and distributed. Kimberly Shopper reportedly made a statement to investigators confirming that the bones were indeed genuine human remains. She further claimed that these items had been acquired from various private sellers over time. This admission, while confirming the nature of the items in question, also inadvertently opened up a new and potentially complex line of inquiry for the authorities. Who were these anonymous private sellers? And more importantly, where did they originally obtain the bones? The supply chain for human remains can be notoriously opaque, often shrouded in secrecy and at times linked to unethical or illegal activities like grave robbing or improper disposal from institutions. The case took an even more intriguing and historically significant turn with the results of forensic analysis. The Volusia County Medical Examiner's Office was tasked with examining the seized remains. Their initial findings were quite startling. Some of the bones appeared to be of significant antiquity. We are not talking about remains that are a few decades old, perhaps from a forgotten cemetery. The experts suggested that some of these bones could be well over 100 years old. More astonishingly, some might even date back as far as 500 years. This discovery elevated the case beyond a simple violation of modern statutes regarding tissue sales. If these bones are indeed as ancient as the medical examiner suspects, their potential significance skyrockets. They could be archaeological finds, remnants of people who lived centuries ago. Such remains hold invaluable information for scientists and historians. They can tell us about past populations, their diets, diseases they suffered from, their burial customs, and migration patterns. They are irreplaceable pieces of a vast historical puzzle. Selling them as macabre trinkets or curiosities effectively robs them of their scientific and cultural context. This practice raises serious ethical questions that go far beyond the immediate legal charges, forcing us to consider if we are commodifying human history itself. The investigation, quite naturally, continues with renewed vigor. The Orange City Police Department is not tackling this complex case alone. They have teamed up with both state and federal authorities, pooling resources and expertise. Their collective goal is to trace the origins of these mysterious and potentially ancient remains. Were they illicitly looted from documented archaeological sites or unmarked graves? Could they have been stolen from private or institutional collections years ago? The answers to these questions could potentially reveal a much larger, darker network involved in the trafficking of human remains. The case remains open, a somber testament to its inherent complexity and disturbing implications. It is important, however, to note that not all selling of human bones is illicit or unethical. There are legitimate businesses, such as the Bone Room located in California, and Skulls Unlimited, a prominent U.S. supplier, that operate legally within the existing framework. Skulls Unlimited is even noted as the only company in the United States that legally and ethically sources and cleans human heads from willed body donor programs. These specimens are then sold to professionals, doctors, researchers, and educators for valid scientific or medical purposes. They also sell antique skulls to the general public, presumably with clear provenance. This stands in stark contrast to clandestine sales on social media platforms.